Well met, lords and ladies. Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And there are two topics that I want to talk about today. You've read the title, so you already know what they are. And I was thinking to myself that these two, how am I going to transition from one to the other? Because it seems like, once again, because it's just events of the week, but this one, it was like, this seems so disconnected. It's almost like I can elaborate on one of them and almost not touch on the other at all. But then I realized they are actually connected by a theme. I just realized this right before I started recording, and that theme is bad headspaces. So and also as well, for the second thing, I'm probably not going to talk about it at length because part of it isn't my place to do so, although the other part is just literally, me reporting on what happens publicly, so it's pretty much, I kind of have to summarize it to some degree. Not to mention it's an update to a situation that I reported on a couple of weeks ago. Or was it last week? I think it might have been last week. Don't really know. But anyway, the theme is bad headspaces, and as such the tone is going to be relatively more somber than it was even at that point. So yeah, first of all, to get that to get the first thing out of the way, I had my driving test on the 29th, so a couple of days ago. Didn't pass, and that was the reason that I stated on my community post that I was in a bad headspace, and that's why we did an editing stream a couple of days ago, so that because I thought to myself, well, yeah, I am not doing well at the moment, so I am not going to put that negative energy onto the product of somebody else. So even though there were not going to be many streams this particular week, I knew that was something that I would have to compromise about, because of course the list goes ever on and on, and I must follow it where I can, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's why. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to put this aside. And now that I'm saying that out loud and saying what my methodology was, it kind of actually also again relates to the other situation. But yeah, I will say thanks to all the people who have tried to cheer me up and console me about what happened. I mean, yeah, to give the details of that, it was a case of over here in the UK driving tests, I believe it was allowed up to 15 minor faults and 0 serious faults. There are different things they say, something they call majors or minors, or driving faults and serious faults, and yada yada. That's the idea. They have some stuff they're not as concerned about, but they will highlight for you, and other stuff that if it causes a serious risk, then it's a problem. So out of 15, I was going to say available, out of 15 potential minor faults that I could have had, I ended up with 5 of them, which is, well within the margins, but there was a serious fault. And it was essentially just a case of there were a bunch of cars that are coming from me in both directions as I was trying to move off, and it was the beginning of the test, and I forgot to signal to move off. Why did I forget that? I have no idea. Well, again, I kind of do. I kind of do, because it was pretty obvious that I was honestly, for one of the first times, nervous for the outcome of something. And yeah, I mean, there was never going to be any situation where I was not nervous. Sorry, there's pedestrian lights. I'm going to get across them. 8, 7, 6, 5. There we go. Okay. Back to what I was saying. People used to say I don't look when I cross the street with these walking Wednesdays. I absolutely do. Might not be a legal driver, but I'm a good pedestrian. Anyway, see, I can joke about it now. I'm doing much better mentally than before. But yeah, so, but yeah, like on the day, of course I was nervous. There was never going to be a situation where I wasn't nervous, and that's just because of like how much there was riding on that. Because yeah, like ever since January, it's been almost a daily occurrence to me, apart from in June, obviously when in Galicia, and I guess February as well, to have a driving lesson, usually for about an hour and a half. It really depends. And getting the practice is good, and like initially, even though I was resistant to it on the grounds that I was told, you know, I could learn at my own pace, and then suddenly out of nowhere the decision to have everyday lessons was made for me under the implication that I had nothing else going on any particular days. And so I was, let us say I was not happy at the time about that, but, you know, unable to come up with like a reasonable dispute that would actually sound good, other than just saying like, oh yeah, well of course I've got other projects going on. Like what? Like I don't just like sit around all day because I have nothing like on a listed schedule. I have my own schedule. I could have said that in hindsight, but yeah, if it wasn't apparent by that point, it was never going to be. So yeah, I just bit the bullet on that one. So yeah, that's why I initially was like, okay, well I'll get past this initial hurdle. And so, and you know, before we knew it became a daily thing anyway, with give and take a couple exceptions, which we did make for doing my schedule, mainly around like the season 1 episode 6 remake, you know, for the 5th anniversary, because that's always a stressful time of year for me. And that was generally understood. There's people in front of me then. Okay, that was generally understood. But other than that, yeah, most months it was that consistently. And the thing is that it's not just the case of, you know, having to allocate like an hour or so, because even then on paper it still sounds reasonable. Problem is, with the driving lessons, I mentioned this in the past before, but just in case, whenever I arrive back from those, I'm not in a good mental state to get on with what I was doing in that moment. Like I need some time to recalibrate myself, so to speak, which eats into the day even further. And then by that point, I have some time where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to, you know, do my editing or my work, or potentially something to do with applying for the job in Spain and whatever it might have been in that particular moment. Or, as the case might have been back in April, you know, more driving stuff to do with studying for the theory test, which of course I did pass, because that's a requirement over here before you do the practical test, in case anyone didn't know that. And then afterwards, usually bath time, stream time, dinner time, wind down time, and sleep time. Rinse, repeat. So I know that, you know, from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like my days are full, but like the way that I end up processing all of that and carrying it out, it is more than it's apparent to be. And so the reason that I was so distraught at the result was not because I wasn't going to be, you know, I wasn't going to be allowed to drive on my own or anything. I honestly don't care about that, and never have. I care more about the fact that that cycle that I've been, you know, almost stuck in, for a sense, isn't going to be over for the foreseeable future. The next time we go to book a test because of they have backups due to still people trying to, you know, get their test done after COVID, every single day is always booked up in every center ever. The next test that I was able to actually even get at the time was on January, so up until next year there are cancellations. We're going to try and look into, you know, extending that. But yeah, that's like, but that's beyond the point where I'll have gone to Spain. So I mean, who knows if I'll have to become a cancellation if that's the case. You know, the examiner just said to book something, so I did. So yeah, the fact that I'm not gonna have that time probably anymore to that I needed, not only to finally catch up with everything people have been asking me to do for so long that I haven't been able to fit in because of the aforementioned stuff before, but also just, you know, essentially like the summer before starting working, the fact that I'm not going to have that like space anymore. That's the part that really just that made me upset, and that's why I was in that headspace. I was like, I'm not going to be free from this. I don't know when, because if I can't do the January one, who knows? Next time that I even like visit, is it going to be a case where I'm going to have to be practicing again or something? So yeah, that's the part that really gets me, because also I promised, because like when we got back from like, you know, the holidays, a lot of stuff started happening where like, for example, there you know, a lot of like backed up voice acting stuff. I mentioned Tree Pop's thing with episode 10, which just keeps getting longer and longer and longer with no end in sight. I thought there was an end in sight, so that's why I started with it. There's also a couple of random lines that Maya 2.0 wants from me. Now Aiden's Arthurs and Fallen Angels ones. Bon has been waiting for quite some time for just like an additional project that he was going to cancel if I wasn't able to get those in, which now means that the pressure's on me in order to actually get those done and sent, because otherwise, you know, he says that his time frame is going to be limited, and now that's and there's a risk of cancelling the project. And I can tell he's getting impatient about that, because he keeps on subtly mentioning that in like live reviews and stuff. And there's only so many times that I can ignore those comments, because like I can see everything people actually post. Like, just because I don't put the comments on screen doesn't mean that I'm not reading them. So and yeah, usually when I'm the ones that I put on the stream are the ones that I will either enhance the stream itself or ones that I want to address in the moment. But yeah, like they still exist and I still see them. It's like, oh yeah, wow, well, a great like minor cover of addiction. You sure we were gonna sing that anytime soon? And it's like, well, I'll try. I mean, partly, you know, I should have done that already because I was meant to like have a sore throat for like a week. But that also is because I was doing so much catch-up voice acting that I wasn't able to like get that in. And there was the Plex deadline as well, another Bond thing that, you know, he was gracious enough to like extend anyway, because I did send some of that stuff. But yeah, like people are waiting, and I kept them waiting on the promise that I would have more time to dedicate to that, and now I don't. So that's what I care about, is just the impact on others, and that's why I was nervous and overthinking and everything. Because like I've mentioned before, but I'm not a person who tends to really get stage fright. Just to like use like a theatrical example, and people have said before, lots of directors will say it's good to be nervous when you go on stage, you know, because that means that you care about what's going on. And I find this to be a bit reductive, because it's not like I don't care. Like, you know me, I want the best result performance. But I think the reason why I don't get nervous when it comes to stage things is because I don't have as much riding on them, or like for people counting on like the end result. It's not like if I were to make a mistake, or forget a line, be in the wrong position or something, it's not like that would ultimately impact people in the long term, or have like a domino effect that would destroy the entire operation. It's like, oh wait, no, something went wrong here. It happens. The show must go on. Continue. So people understand that, and that's the thing. But yeah, I think it's because of, I think whenever I get nervous about something, it is when I know that there are people that are relying on the result of what I've been doing. I mean, even to the extent of, I'm debating whether or not to actually continue lessons with like the actual instructor, just on the grounds that I know what I did wrong. I know that I am at the level of taking the test, and I also know that there are people who are still trying to, get in his booking system, and now I'll just be taking up more of that. So that's a conversation that I've yet to have, as to whether or not that's a good idea to continue. Because, like, again, for me personally, of course, yeah, or by all, like, that would probably, the more the merrier. But again, it's not just about me. So yeah, I get nervous about stuff when it isn't just about me. That is the ultimate thing there. So, but like, that was my mental state, or think about all these things in the moments when I found out that I hadn't passed, and also also at the time when I wrote the community post, and during the editing thing. But I obviously played that off because we were talking about other stuff. But yeah, that's and yeah, I was waiting until now to put, kind of like voice all of that, because yeah, there was no really probably eloquent way I could phrase it, similarly to how I started this conversation, with me not eloquently phrasing that my schedule was not as laissez-faire as it appeared from the outside. So yeah, but as for now, at the very least, like the stuff that I had there was some stuff for like there you go, like work visa applications, or trying to get like a flat for living in Spain, that I had been doing some stuff in the background for, but not exclusively like everything, because I was like, well, after the 29th I'll have more time, and we just determined, like, what, forget that, we're just gonna start that process. And it's actually moving. There's some like delays because of how like the bureaucratic nature of this process goes. Like, oh yeah, please wait X amount of work days in order to get this back or something. And yeah, that's, you can't help that. But the sooner you get to that point, the better. So actually, I'm despite that, I'm actually in a way better place as far as the Spain stuff goes than I thought I would be. And to be honest, it didn't actually take that long. It was a matter of like having a couple of conversations with the right people, and also getting help from the right people too. Like I'm not done by any means, but again, it's all about that progress. So I'm feeling much better about that. As far as I'm recording this at an earlier time, so I'm gonna get back and work through that list some more, because I actually have more time in the day now, because I actually got up earlier than usual to I got up earlier than usual to ask for a medical certificate. So, yeah, gonna get to use that extra time after I've reconfigured and I'm back in the right headspace, as implied before. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that was my bad headspace story, and now I'm going to talk about a bad headspace story that has to do with somebody else. Several somebody else's, actually. This goes back to what I was mentioning, I think, on last week. If you don't remember what happened there, basically, for the D&D series that I am in currently, which is Quest of the Rising Sun, there was, during episode 4, there was a lot of inner party discourse that happened. Let's say I talked about this a lot more in detail last week, but basically for right now, the important part is that towards the end, towards what was supposed to be the middle of the particular episode, there was a character who was played by Junior, which was Utopiash, and who hadn't actually been able to do much yet. Once he hadn't been able to, it's just that he had chosen not to get involved with what the rest of the party was doing and kind of wait for his turn. Junior also felt like since everyone was always talking about their own stuff, he was not able to do much himself at that point, which again I somewhat said was fair enough, considering that my character and KW's character took up a lot of a particular scene together, which I will still defend because private moments between two characters do forward a lot story-wise. But yeah, but the thing is that he was excited to cast a particular spell called Zone of Truth, which would have forced every character that was there at the time, so the entire party minus KW, who was in a different room at the time, to spill all of their secrets, or potentially the secrets that have just been revealed to them. So, not without being an immediate breach of trust of what was set up in that episode, but also a lot of characters' arcs has to do with revealing their secrets in due time. This is somewhat ironic now, considering that there was a one-shot that we did yesterday where the characters got truth serum splattered onto them, and a similar situation happened. But yeah, that was that we haven't got there yet. So at the time, of course, we were like, well, this is very metagamey, because the end goal was just to get information out of the characters, information that he could have acquired by asking. And but I don't know, I guess we decided to try out the spell or something. I don't really know, but that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And at the time, it was just a case of, okay, well, he kind of left in a huff after the stream, and after that, KW decided to wrap things up rather quickly, under the guise that she didn't want anyone to miss out on more of a session, which was baloney for a number of reasons. One, because we already had a person missed out a session previously, and two, because it was Junior's decision to leave. We didn't force him to, so if he missed out, that was his fault. So yeah, but yeah, it turned out, yeah, it seemed like she was just trying to flounder around for an excuse, and again, bad headspace in her situation. she ended up making a community post soon after this, talking about how this is where the update comes in. This is what I didn't say last week because this happened afterwards. Junior decided on his own that it would be best for him to leave the campaign. That he wasn't, he didn't have any particular animosity towards anyone. He just thought that it was for the best. He also at one point messaged me after last Walking Wednesday when I described his character as a lone wolf, which, despite what he said, I still stand by that. I believe that his character falls into the lone wolf archetype. On the opposite end of that archetype to KW's character, but still within there. It seems that Junior thought that I was calling him, the actor, a lone wolf, which, no, I stated multiple times in that video that I was talking about Utopiash, the character, not Junior, the actor. Because, I mean, if Junior the actor was a lone wolf, then he wouldn't have wanted to join a campaign with multiple in the first place, so that doesn't make any sense. For whatever reason, he still interpreted that, and he still tried to reiterate to me, like, oh, well, you know, this, like in character, I couldn't make that decision, which I completely understand, because there's some times where I've ignored the DM's express advice, because I knew that it was not what my character would have done. Or it was based on information that my character would not have. Insert the famous hostility situation, where I was told that if I used a particular spell, well, I was told that one consequence of using a spell that I had was that he would be revived and turn hostile. Of course, I, the player, knew that now, but Nathaniel, the character, has no clue. So like, you know, one character revived, and it was actually Utopiash, fittingly, was hostile, but of course, you know, just saying a character is hostile before they do anything means nothing. Because how can you tell? And also, bear in mind, Utopiash wears full body armor, so you can't read his emotions in the first place. So you can't even go by facial expressions. Anyway, that's an episode 2 thing. We're talking about episode 4 here. So yeah, I reiterated to him, because again I stand by this, that yes, it is true that that the decisions that he made were decisions made based on how he had characterized his character. But he still made the decision to set up his character in a way where those decisions would not work. Therefore, that's not something... that doesn't mean that the character isn't a lone wolf, because that's... because it comes down to that. And it was almost like a situation where, like, oh, you know, how dare you, like, not account for the way that I'm characterizing my character versus... your others. And it's like, well, by the time that you already made the decisions that you're talking about of going to do stuff, you decide to split up on your own. So again, what are we supposed to do in that situation? There was a scene in episode 3 where Utopiash got the lore that was going to carry the next part of the episode. So it's not like the DM or anyone else was ignoring him. He felt like he was ignored by everyone apart from KW, but I reiterated that there are moments where we have expressly tried to include him in stuff, despite the fact that he is in character, of course, excluding himself. And yeah, so to go back to KW for a second, yeah, she seemed to see the point that you know, both people were raising, as did I. But again, just because well, Sense by Buns learned this the hard way. Just because I see a point that someone's making and I understand it, does not mean I agree with it. So that was kind of where things ended off, and with the decision that Junior made after that to go his own separate way. Also, it appeared, because by the time that we got to yesterday, which was supposed to be, you know, the next episode, the time in which we would be we'll be making our what was I going to say? The time which we'll be continuing for where we left off and accounting for his disappearance and trying to reassert the law that we had before. During that time, KW and Junior chose that particular time of day to do a stream playing Fortnite. Yeah, so before this point, this is one thing that KW tried to reiterate. There were a couple of instances where KW said, like, oh, you know, even though we have a schedule for Tuesday, this might not actually happen, you know, if I'm not in a good headspace. Then again, in her community post addressing the departure of Junior, she also apologized for ending the stream early because of a bad headspace and promising that that would not happen again. And yet later on was sort of making implications that it would happen again, and then it happened again. So I guess technically, you know, loophole would be the stream didn't start before that, so it's not like it was the exact same situation, but that's being really generous. So yeah, I said, you know, everyone's ready for the next episode. In fact, she said on the Fortnite stream, oh, there might, by the way, to our audience, there might not be a Quest the Rising Sun episode because I'm not in the right headspace. Again, this is all stuff that's been published, so I'm not digging into the personal stuff. Yeah, that was, fortunately enough, I was in there, so I was able to tell the others what was going on, or to reiterate that we were, in fact, waiting at that point. And then she tried to say, like, oh, well, I told you this might not be happening. And it's like, well, yeah, you told us this might not be happening, but here's the thing. When someone says that something might not be happening, that doesn't mean that people should assume that the plans would be cancelled. It kind of seemed like, oh, well, you know, you lot should have known better than to wait for me, despite me never confirming that it was not going to take place. I mean, to use an example, it's sort of like if you like went to a concert, or you were planning to go to a concert, and you know, your favorite artist, the frontline artist of the event, puts out a tweet that says, oh, I might not be able to make it. Like, most people in that situation, when they say I might not be able to make it, they're still going to go, because if there's like a minimal chance that something might not happen, but there's still no concrete evidence that it wasn't, then, you know, it's not like the artist, if they decide to go there, is going to show up to an empty venue, for example. That would be bizarre. Like if you say, oh, I might have to reschedule for some reasons, people are on the alert when that happens, but that's not really something that, you know, you can do much about beyond being alert. So that's why we were all there. And that's why it kind of seemed to us like, oh, well, what are we, how are we supposed to know? Because we weren't. Because we were, again, well, somewhat annoyed, but also we were there prepared to play some DND and cancel some of our own plans, for example, like I would have done a stream otherwise if that were not the case. We decided to do a one-shot, to which KW on the Fortnite stream still requested that for it not to be canon. And also said she wasn't, one of the reasons we didn't want to do the stream this time was because she'd have to set up a bunch of stuff. So it's like, I don't feel like hosting tonight. So with those two things in mind, we decided that there will be a non-canon one-shot as per her request, not hosted by her, also as per her technical request, on my channel. And so that's what we did. Then after the stream ended, KW talked in the chat and said, I thought I said no hosting, but it's whatever. To which, of course, we were thinking to ourselves, you did not say no hosting, you just said you did not want to host. Again, very different situation. Especially considering that she said she didn't want to miss out because it was non-canon stuff. This all got clarified later, by the way. Like, I did explain the hosting thing. She said, okay, fair enough, like, after this. And a lot of the stuff I'm talking about right now has been, I would say resolved. It's been discussed, I suppose. To some people, you could say it's been resolved, but there's, you know, much to be done after this. She did join for a little bit, because it was obviously still in the server. And we said, like, oh yeah, you can play some of the NPC characters or something, and she wanted to try and, like, make up for what was going on. So clearly she had a change of heart by this point, and realized, I guess, the magnitude of the error, I suppose. But yeah, like, in that moment, of course, because we were focused on the game, and the stream was freezing a lot, so wasn't the right time for us to, you know, kind of stop and address that, really. We were trying our best to get through things, and we didn't eventually. There's still going to be another part 2 to that at some stage. I forget whether or not that was supposed to happen today or tomorrow. I think it was tomorrow, but I will check that. And if there's another stream today, then that's why. So yeah, that was kind of where we left things off. The one shot concluded unceremoniously, because it wasn't concluded, it was actually just because my stream kept freezing, and I'm running out of space to talk about this, so I'm gonna stop now. Alright, normally I've just freed up enough space to just about continue, but since my trajectory let me off a bunch of hills, I had enough time where I've got my entire storage back. That being said, I am wrapping up, so it's not like I'm going to be prattling on forever anymore. Ultimately, the thing that I was trying to get at was, while we did actually have a conversation, like, amongst the party and also KW, because she was still there afterwards, we did actually outline just a bunch of, like, other stuff that's been going on that's not really important to this scenario. And it seems like now everyone appears to be basically on the same page. It has meant that, despite all of that, the series itself is still in dire straits at the moment. And that's mainly because of the logistics of it. Because the problem that we had last week that Vin outlined, but was corroborated by a bunch of other people, Vin being the DM, because I made that clear before now, that because of how the series was outlined and the specific planning that went into, well, I guess it's gone into, like, the individual sessions themselves, we really did need, ideally, to get through all of episode 4 in the one go that it was intended to be, whereas now it's on KW's channel as episode 4 part 1, and episode 4 part 2 is meant to be this week, but Vin basically said that we couldn't really afford, or we shouldn't attempt to delay things any further, just because, like, like, after the summer ends, you know, after a good 5 weeks, I guess, that we've got left for most people, it doesn't, it wasn't looking as like we would be able to even schedule anything. I mean, a lot of people have work on a bunch of different days anyway, and other commitments to do. So it was already Tuesday was already the best day overall. Wednesday and Thursday, stuff has been tossed around and is very uncertain and unpredictable at the best of times. So that's another thing to consider. But we did say, yeah, we're trying to, like, back-to-back session to make up for that, because otherwise, once school starts again, it's going to be a nightmare to arrange. Now, I will say some of that is due to was due to Junior's school schedule, which seemed exceptionally rigorous even by school schedule standards. So so that is something that we don't have to worry about anymore. But that being said, Emily's summer finishes in about 5 weeks. Once October rolls around, I'll be in a different country, and I don't have my schedule for that yet because that's something that they arrange afterwards. And ideally, that wouldn't have mattered because by then we'd have been done regardless, or nearing towards the end. Out of apparently 10 sessions that have been planned for this campaign, it seems like that's what we're aiming for. Which is good to know because we know not to prolong our character arcs too much. That's reassuring. But yeah, because of that and like however many delays there's happened, that was part of the reason that KW made that promise on the community post all that time ago. And it seems like some of that's being lost in the haze. That being said, there has been some doubts. This is the only thing that might go into like the private stuff to talk about. There has been some doubt about on KW's end whether or not she should continue to be in the sessions based on the problems that have emerged. And to be fair, some of the problems were stuff like outside of that. But I want to make my position clear on that. It is KW's show, so absolutely, I am under no circumstances would I say that don't do that. Sorry, I mean say do that is what I meant to. It's like, you know, as in don't leave is what I meant to. You know what I was trying to say. And well, I guess I also on a selfish level, you know, Nathaniel and Hera have established a particular dynamic that has not yet been finalized, thanks to that very episode, in fact. So yeah, we want to keep indulging in that, let's say. Because again, you know, I'll lose my natural foil. It's not the same. That's like there was like in the one shot there was that piece missing for me particularly. 2 pieces if you count Utopia Ash, but again, it really would depend. Knowing he might have like jumped down a different portal, you never know. But yeah, I did say that it's probably best if KW doesn't join the next part of that particular one shot, since her character wasn't involved, and also logistically just be better for us to arrange that at a different time. That's why I'm saying, you know, today or tomorrow. But beyond that, of course, yeah, absolutely, we want to continue the campaign with the person that created it. I would hate for this to become the reason that she grows to despise D&D, because this all came about from her idea to, like, you know, indulge in the hobby in the first place and try to get into it. And she was gracious enough to make it into a live play in the first place. And also, it comes down to, on top of that, one of my personal philosophies, I suppose, which ties into how I approach gacha review. Because with gacha review, I'm very careful to not fall into the trap of so many, you know, commentators or YouTube reactors in 2016, where the commentary community a lot of the time was just like, why did you even post this in the first place? You know, stop making videos. What are you doing with your life? You're gonna look back at this and cringe and blah blah blah. The only one that I stand by is they'll look back at it and cringe, because that's just always what happens with artistic expression anyway. But beyond that, I never want to encourage somebody to stop posting videos, or to quit YouTube altogether, because I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years now. I barely mentioned that the anniversary happened, it was this week. Good grief, so much happened after that. I forgot to mention that my channel turned 11 years old. Well, I guess my first public video did, technically, which is when I celebrated the anniversary, but yeah. Like, but, so yeah, like, the fact that I'm doing it for so long, like, I understand that, you know, the early stuff is going to be trash, and But at the same time, you're going to want somebody there to help you evolve. Like, you can search that kind of thing out and check out videos, including reviews and stuff. But if you're starting out and people don't take your stuff seriously or tell you to stop because it's bad, then you're going to end up believing that and believing that you have no worth as a creator, which is not true. So I always try to approach gacha review, entertainment and funny jokes aside, with the mindset that this is just how you can make videos better. If they're already amazing, here's how to make them slightly more amazing. If they are terrible, here's how to make them definitively less terrible. In my opinion, of course. That's how I like to approach those, a sense of like trying to be constructive about it, rather than just trying to tear somebody down. And sometimes it gets lost in translation, because I have mentioned in previous episodes people don't take criticism well sometimes, or they see it as a personal attack, which it isn't. But like, that's true with real life as well. Like, if someone wants to try to improve and try to correct their own mistakes, or to move past something in order to make it as enjoyable as it was at the beginning, or just fix the issues that made it less enjoyable overall, like the case for this DND session, then I would absolutely say, yeah, continue. Because if you just nip something in the bud, then next time you attempt it, it's going to happen again. Or you might not attempt it at all and think that it's going to be inevitable, which it isn't. But it's always like that kind of learning experience that someone undergoes, in the case of either the reviews, or in this case something to do with them as people. Like, those, like that mentality is transferable. So yeah, I would definitely never suggest that that the series would be better off without KW. In fact, dare I say, it would probably be significantly worse. But yeah, we have actually talked about this while in the middle of me filming this, actually, in the pause, that potentially one of the things that was stressing KW out was the rigors of hosting in the first place. And now that I have a little bit of a taste for that, let's say, then I can be better prepared for that in the future, and hopefully my computer won't freeze. Because we have mentioned that, yeah. So I mean to say, like, I'd be out of that. I mean, because we've talked about me potentially. This isn't guaranteed, but me potentially hosting the streams on KW's channel. So it would just, be the same content, the same place, but it would probably look slightly different, have a bit of a different mechanic behind it. Not be entirely podcasty unless I figure out my decade-long issue with OBS. Don't really know, but that's the idea. That's not guaranteed. That's just if something comes up again, and that's an attempt on KW to make good on that promise, which now we start to actually see. So I want to anyone to take this as like a an attack on Junior or KW or anyone in the campaign or whatever. This is something that we're all undergoing, and we're all learning from, because that's part of D&D as well, I think, potentially, because like, it can make or break friendships in some cases, but so can making gacha videos. Went through that in the ideas of Buttercore, how that kind of like destroyed a lot of friendships inadvertently. But it's also a case of like, how do you correct those? How do you make it so that it's fun for everyone, including yourself? And that comes from, the DM and from the players. A lot of the time the blame gets put on a DM in these situations. Not in this case, but it's been known to happen in other campaigns. So yeah, like, I don't think if things continue to progress the way they are now, as in, for the better, then I don't see anyone holding anything against anyone for some time. But if they do not, then, as both Telltale Games and Bee Butter herself put it, you remember that this happened. So with that, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, and touch the subscribe button like it's a blade of grass. And on that note, until next time, farewell.